Hey you. Yeah, you. You didn't stumble here by chance. So let's talk. My name is Tyanne, but a lot of people call me Taj. And I'm most known for my loud New York personality. Brooklyn, to be specific. And my unfiltered opinions. And most recently, for being your favorite homegirl. Yeah, because I'm a realtor too. Don't forget that. And the Melanated Mindset is a safe space for unpopular opinions and heated debates amongst the diverse melting pot of those of us that identify as a melanated millennial. Now, I can't speak for y'all, but after seeing what being an adult is really about, nah, I got some things to say. And I know y'all do too. So let's talk about it. Because what's really going on?
Mm, 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 mm. What is up, y'all? Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you're not to the Melanated Mindset. Y'all, we done made it to yet another week and yet another Monday. I feel like anytime I'm recording the pod, the weeks literally are just flying by. Like episode 7 is mad crazy. But y'all know the vibes. Before I start this episode, I just want to take the time to thank each and every one of you that are listening, whenever, wherever you're listening, for sharing space with me today. You could be anywhere doing anything, but you chose to be right here with me today, and I am grateful to have you. Listen, y'all, it's early in the morning. It's Saturday morning. Like, recording 2 days before I gotta post this is crazy, but it's early in the morning. And I know it don't matter where you're from right now, y'all, it is brick. Like, why is it on track to be 18 degrees tomorrow in South Carolina? So, for my girlies up north, whoo, bless your heart. I see the snow. Can't relate. 18 degrees is cold, but I'd rather 18 degrees and the sun be shining like it is right now. But it's early and it's brick. So if you hear me sipping my tea, act like you don't, okay? Because y'all, the temperature dropped fast as hell, didn't it? Global warming is crazy. Anyway, y'all know I like to start each episode with a question. So let me ask you, were you raised out of love or out of survival? I know y'all. We getting a little deep this episode, okay? I feel like the first 6 episodes was kind of lighthearted, and shout out to JD for telling me how well last week's episode, the work-life balance episode, flowed with the time is money episode. And I told you I've had none of this planned, so I'm really like winging it, and that was unintentional, but I'm glad that it did. And I feel like the last 3 episodes of this season are gonna also go together now that I think about the topics. So, your girl getting a little cohesive or whatever. Now, y'all know your girl is never going to miss an opportunity for a shameless plug. So, if you are an OG part of the tribe, I'm talking like you one of the people that listen on SoundCloud, because it's mad of y'all. And I like be shocked every week that like so many of y'all actually go on SoundCloud to listen to me. Cause I go on SoundCloud to hear like my favorite artists and my favorite rappers like unreleased music. So y'all put me in like the favorite artist, favorite rapper, unreleased music category. I am so honored. But if you are one of those that listen on SoundCloud, I love you nonetheless. But I get the feeling that you're not keeping up with me on my socials. Or maybe this is your first episode and you would like to become a part of the tribe because it's kind of lit over here. You know, we real self-aware. We're vibing. We're healing. We're doing all the things over here. So if you would like to be a part of the tribe, because I would love to have you, make sure that you follow me on all socials to kind of keep up with me in real time at Tyanne Watson on all platforms. And of course, make sure you visit my website, TyanneWatson.com, to see kind of what I've been working on and what is to come. Mm. Y'all, this ginger tea, she's doing what needs to be done. Moving right along to the complaint and the highlight of the week. This week, my complaint is that I do not feel like I have been operating from a place of grace lately. I think it was last week's complaint, or maybe the complaint before that. Child, I don't know. One of those two episodes, I feel like my complaint of the week was that I am becoming like painfully self aware. And part of me becoming self aware is realizing where I am falling short and understanding that it's not always other people. So, sometimes it's me. And I feel like lately I just not have been giving anybody, myself included, enough grace. And it's something that I'm struggling with. And I think by the end of this episode, it'll kind of make sense as to why that is. As for my highlights of the week, y'all, by the time y'all are hearing this on Monday, I would have had a meeting that I have been waiting on for months. Like, y'all, I planted this seed at the top of last year. And the fact that, like, the ball is finally rolling on this thing is just, it's so surreal. Like, y'all don't understand just yet, but don't worry. You will. I can't tell y'all when because I don't know how long this thing is gonna take. But like, y'all, this is gonna change everything. Like, I feel like I get on here and I talk in these riddles and these codes, and I be confusing y'all a little bit. But later on down the line, y'all always see what I be talking about. Like, so when I tell y'all there is so much happening behind the scenes, this is one of them. This is the main one happening behind the scenes because this thing coming to fruition, because it's going to come to fruition, it's gonna remove everything that has been holding me back. This is gonna give me the missing puzzle piece to my purpose. It is quite literally the key to my success. It is the key to, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give it away, but like, y'all don't understand. I have been on pause with so many things regarding this melanated mindset brand, and it's been for a reason. Like, what was that, season 4 that we got like the t-shirts and like, the samples, and we've been, wearing them and like, just testing out samples and vendors. And I know like y'all are like, girl, you got these t-shirts, but like, okay, I might want one. And there is a reason that things have been put on pause, because the more I learn about business and the back end of how things work, I'm learning that it is worth the time to take your time and do things the right way so that you don't have to backtrack later on down the line. So I feel like the melanated mindset brand has kind of been in this limbo space. Like, yeah, the pod is coming consistently, but like the other things that I have planned, and when I say other things, like, y'all are gonna love it. Like, if you know me and like you've been here since season 1, like, these are not things that I'm doing for me. Like, it is literally for y'all. It's for the tribe. It's for us. Like, I am genuinely building a community, and I don't just plan to keep that community online. So the things that I have planned to kind of manifest you guys, this tribe in real life, I can't do just yet because things need to be put in place. And this meeting on Monday is, yeah, I have found my way into like the business girlies circle, and the business girlies is giving out the tea, okay? And don't worry, once I can confirm that it's authentic, I am coming back to tell y'all the tea. And I know I said a lot without saying nothing, but just hold on, y'all. Hopefully top of season 6, I will be able to reveal it, because y'all, it's so freaking huge. Oh my God. But like, we gotta keep going. Moving right along to the Fendi fact of the day. And let me tell y'all, this episode is different because we don't got just one Fendi fact today. We got 2. So that's how y'all know we finna get into some things. The first Fendi fact is written by Dr. David Sussman, and it is an article titled The Nature versus Nurture Debate: Genetic and Environmental Influence and How They Interact. And it reads, nature refers to how genetics influence an individual's personality, whereas nurture refers to how their environment, including relationships and experiences, impacts their development. Whether nature or nurture plays a bigger role in personality and development is one of the oldest philosophical debates within the field of psychology. To better understand the nature versus nurture argument, it helps to know what each of these terms actually means. Nature refers largely to our genetics. It includes the genes we are born with and other hereditary factors that can impact our personality, that can impact how our personality is formed and influence the way we develop from childhood throughout adulthood. Nurture encompasses the environmental factors that impact who we are. This includes our early childhood experiences, the way we were raised, our social relationships, and the surrounding culture. Now, before I jump into the flow, if you enjoy the podcast, if it has helped you in any way, if you have learned anything, I hope since season 1 or whatever season you found me on, take a moment and do me a favor. Can you please rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on? It helps me out a lot. It doesn't cost you anything but a few moments of your time, because we learned 2 weeks ago time is currency. But your review just might end up on my website as a featured review. Now, let's get flowing. Let me take a sip of my tea first, child. I feel like I'm going to be talking for a minute. Damn, y'all, my tea already getting cold. Oh, I hate that for me. Anyway, so I started this pod asking y'all, do you think you were raised out of love or out of survival? Now, before you answer that, let me tell y'all why I think it's important to even know that in the first place. I think if you don't know whether you were raised out of love or survival, how will you know what to do or what not to do when it comes to your children? If you want any, because I know not all the girlies want to be moms, totally respect it. And just to be clear, whichever one you identify more with, I don't think that means that you didn't experience the other at some point in time. So I think it's a possibility to experience both, but one I feel like is always more prominent than the other. For me, I know for a fact that I was raised out of survival, but that in no way made me feel like my parents didn't love me. It just means I was very aware that love came second to survival in our household. And I know that honestly, a lot of you can relate to that, especially those of you who may have grew up in inner cities. If you're new here and don't know, I mean, you should have heard the intro, but I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm from New York City. And if you're from a big city back in the 90s, life is expensive today, but I feel like life in them inner cities just be hella expensive. So, our parents had to do what they had to do to put food on the table. And let me just prefix this by saying, when I say the term or the word parents throughout this episode, I'm talking about whoever raised you, because I know everybody was not raised by their mother or father and or both. I know some people were raised by their aunts, their grandparents, cousins, whoever. So when I say parents, I'm really speaking parental figures. So I don't want, if you don't have parents, I don't want you to, feel any type of way. I don't want to trigger you in any way. Whoever raised you, those are your parents. Whoever had to sign them field trip forms, that's your parents. But I also know that a lot of y'all grew up in Caribbean immigrant households like I did. So survival was a key thing, especially when you think about the fact that a lot of our parents, our grandparents, they uprooted their entire life from everything they were comfortable with, everything that they knew, to move to a completely different country. Some of them didn't speak the language. Some of them didn't know anybody. So at that point, it's easy to see how love took a backseat to survival. And I think that understanding whether you were raised out of love or survival, it's a realization that you don't even realize has molded you into the person that you are right now at this very moment. Like, I'm talking right now while you listening to me. which of the two you were raised most out of has affected your decision to even press play today. We just don't think about it in that type of sense. But when you look at the science of it all, that's when the nature versus nurture debate really comes into play. And I was struggling with what I was going to name this episode. I was struggling with kind of like the topic, because originally this episode was going to be about the terrible threes and how parenting a 3-year-old is so much different than parenting a 2-year-old. But I know that a lot of the tribe may not be parents. So I needed to find another way to kind of wrap this episode and information in a way that was digestible for everybody. And when I started to think about it in a grander scheme of things, it all boils down to that nature versus nurture debate. Some of the characteristics of our personalities we literally inherit genetically, but others, like the Fendi Fact was saying, were instilled in us based on the way that we were raised. And if you don't sit down to digest it all, those lines can get very blurred. Like understanding what part of your personality you inherited and what part of your personality was instilled in you. I think that oftentimes we confuse the two. Oh, she get it from her mom. She get it from her dad. But it's not, a lot of times those things are not genetic. So when they say, oh, you get your attitude from your mom, you inherited the attitude from your mom? No. Your mom instilled that attitude in you based on the way that you were raised. Because something like an attitude is not genetic. So you ain't inherit no attitude from nobody. You get what I'm saying? And I think it's so crazy that like as I was trying to plan this episode yesterday, like the way the universe has been working lately is insane, but that's nothing new if you are OG part of the tribe. Y'all know the math be mathing and the universe be spinning the block on me, because as I was like I said, trying to rewrap this episode away from just like parenthood, but more so the turning it into the nature versus nurture conversation. It's crazy because I literally finally caved and bought the book The Four Agreements, because I made a promise to myself that I would read more physical books in 2024. And I've honestly been avoiding that book for the longest time on this spiritual journey. But the other day, I treated myself to just a self-care shopping day. And when I tell y'all, like, this was my first commission check of the new year. And I told y'all, I've been starting this new year very slow, but very intentional. And something about like getting paid for the first time of the year while still being in January, while I'm still quote unquote in my soft girl kind of era, but not really, because your girl had to bust her ass to make that money. But I just wanted to keep with the theme of like softness and just kind of like going with the flow. And I had realized like I have never just spent my money on me first. So I decided I'm going to take myself on like a little solo. It wasn't solo because I had Xavier with me, but it was just like, I'm going to go shopping. Like, I don't think I've ever went shopping for myself in a really long time, just for me. Like when I go out, if you're a mom or if you're a wife, you can probably relate to this, but it's always like you see something nice, you're like, okay, I'm gonna put it in a cart. But then you walk past the kids section, you're like, dang, that's really nice for the baby. And then you start doing the math, because in today's world everything expensive as hell. So you be like, dang, I could get the baby 3-4 outfits for the same price as this one nice pair of pants in Target. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put the pants back. The baby having clothes is more important. Or if you're a wife, like I can't go shopping for myself without thinking about Malik. Like, oh, Malik would like this, let me grab this for him. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I did still buy the boys one thing each. But like, y'all, I blew a nice little bag, respectfully, on myself. Like, I took myself to Target at 9 in the morning. I went to the thrift store right when they opened and found heat. Like, I was getting, everything was on clearance. It was just like the universe was just aligning, and it just felt good. And it made me really realize, I made a tweet about this, it made me realize that I don't treat myself or reward myself for my hard work nearly as much as I should. Because this was really, it really felt foreign. It felt like I was doing something wrong. I felt like I was being irresponsible with my money, especially because like I already had planned, like, okay, when I get this commission check, the main thing that is going to be spent on is renovating Xavier's room. You know, he's a big boy now. Top of the year, we want to give him a big boy room that's just more conducive to him being able to be a big boy, but also more homeschool friendly. I plan to vlog kind of us doing that, but I knew that that was like what bulk of this check was going to be for. Like, all right, I'm going to just close my eyes and buy everything that we need to buy to renovate his room. But then I was like, I still have money left over for me. Like, why can't I spend my hard-earned money on me first? Like, he got a bed, like, he got a TV. Like, he's not in a rush to get that room renovated. He don't even know it's happening. So let me take some time to spend some money for myself. And let me tell y'all, it was a great feeling until I got in that Target checkout line and I saw that book, The Four Agreements, staring at me. And what's crazy is this is not the first time this book, if you're on any type of healing spiritual journey, you probably have heard this book mentioned before. So this is not the first time that this book has been mentioned to me. My best friend has told me about this book. She's read it, said I need to read it. The nanny pulled up one day with it in her hand. She's reading it. Like, this book has been screaming at me through the universe for some months now. And I just been like, no, I'm not ready. But here I was having this quote unquote self-care day, and it literally felt like God was like, it ain't a self-care day without some inner work, girl. And you've been avoiding it for a little while. So boom, let me put it in your face. And what really got me, y'all, when I tell you everything I bought that day was on clearance, like I found some gems in the Target clearance section. Like I spent less than $50 in Target, y'all, and got clothes. I'm talking like 5-6 pieces. Come on now. That's how y'all know the clearance section was hitting. And then I get to the register and I see the book. And guess what? The book is on sale. So God was like, you've been buying everything under the sun in this store because it was on sale. You gonna walk past this book too? So I caved, y'all. And I bought it. And within the first chapter of the book, it talks about the fact that everything that we think, everything that we believe was taught to us by someone else, whether from your parents, your grandparents, or whoever. Most of our moral compass was literally scripted for us, not by us, but for us. And we didn't have any say so. Yet we get up every single day and we move throughout life like these beliefs are our own, when in fact they are not. And it's just crazy that many people think that like the government or the powers that be or whoever are the ones that control our lives the most. And to some extent, yeah, unfortunately they do. But just within the first, y'all, I can't make this up. If you haven't read this book, I see why the girlies just be saying you just have to read it. Within the first 20 pages of the Four Agreements made me realize that the people that truly have the most control over our lives, it's not the government. It's our parents or whoever raised you. Because remember, parents meaning parental figures. And I'm talking that goes way into adulthood and not just childhood. Like, y'all, by page 18, it was completely changing the way I thought about things and looked at things. Page 18? That wasn't even technically the first chapter. I think that was still like the interlude. Like, I highly recommend reading that book. If you've been seeing it, hearing about it, this is your sign to go buy it and read it because, wow. Like, I never even thought to put it in that text. Like, you get up every day, everything you believe that is right, that is wrong, that is good, that is bad, like down to your religion, none of those things you made the decision yourself to follow, to practice. None of those beliefs you curated on your own. Someone being your parental figures, told you what was right or wrong, told you what was good or bad, told you what religion to believe in. And as children, we just went with it because we didn't have another choice. It was their way or the highway. And it really made me think like, wow, like as a parent, you really have so much control over another human being's life. And I get it to a certain extent because obviously they can't take care of themselves. They can't make them decisions for themselves. But to think the decisions that you make and the things that you instill in your child in those early stages literally go on to mold them years and decades down the line. And that is such a big responsibility that people these days are taking way too lightly. Like, you are going to be the reason that someone believes in God or not. Like, That is a big responsibility. Parents have that much responsibility. And if you don't believe that parents, parental figures have that much control, let me ask you, why is it that so many people spend their lives living unfulfilled lives, whether it be with careers, with partners that they don't feel personally connected to, for the sake of making their parents happy? Why is it that even after you're adult, even after you move out, why is it still so hard for so many of us to stand up for ourselves against our parents? Why is it so intimidating to challenge them as you go on and go out about your life and you start to experience life for yourself? And that's when you really start to make your own beliefs. You start to be like, wait a minute. I don't know. Like, now that I've done some research, now I got a little bit of experience, I don't know if I necessarily believe that anymore. Why is that intimidating when you go and you challenge the things that your parents believe or the things that they instilled in you as a child, no matter how old you are? So you could be 30 years old, but you're scared to tell your parents like I'm really good on not going to church every Sunday. Or if you were raised one religion, like I'm actually leaning more towards another religion. Like, why is that so intimidating if your parents don't still have control over you well into your adult life? Why is it that most of us spend our childhood promising ourselves that we won't do XYZ just like they did, only to one day catch ourselves in the middle of doing or saying exactly something that they would do or say, and then that's when it hits us. Damn. I did exactly what I said I wouldn't. And sometimes it don't have to be something big or bad. It could be something silly, so you just laugh it off. Like, for example, I remember waking up on Saturdays and, like, once I hear that reggae playlist, once my mom put that iPad on, not that iPad, child, once my mom put that iPod on that dock and that music started blasting, if I was in my third dream, I would instantly be so aggravated. Like, bro, she about to have me cleaning this house. Like, I remember literally laying in my bed saying, when I get older, when I have kids, I am never going to do this. Now, y'all will be cleaning on Sundays, and Malika had his phone hooked up to the speaker, and y'all know my little Yankee child, he be trying to listen to gra ta 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 ta. I be so irritated. I get a headache. I am not trying to get on my hands and knees and scrub this tub listening to drill music. I already feel like a slave right now. I'm wiping baseboards. I'm not trying to do that. So what do? What just feels right in my spirit? I gotta go get my phone and I gotta start blasting some reggae music. It does not feel like Sunday cleaning if I'm not hearing Beres and Buju. Like, it's just instilled in me. It just feels right. Meanwhile, for Malik, he don't have that type of connection. Like, he just listens to whatever he listens to. No, if I'm gonna really clean this house, I need to get my mind right. And to get my mind right, I need that reggae playlist. So it could be something silly. And I clearly remember the days when I'd be like, yo, I'm not gonna be that parent that's blasting Barris Hammond at 8 a.m. talking about it's time to clean. And almost 30 years later, here I am doing just that. But other times you catch yourself doing something that you said you wouldn't do that your parents did, and it's not something that's so silly or something so easy to laugh off. It's a character flaw that really chin checks you. And the reason that I felt like this topic was even worth discussing is because as I peel back the layers of my life and truly start doing the hard work of becoming the best version of myself, I have been realizing on this healing journey that some of the weight that I'm walking around with, it's not even mine to carry in the first place. Hello? Let the church say amen. Let me say that again for those in the back. Some of the weight that we are walking around with that's pulling us down, that's weighing us down, that's slowing us down, is not even ours to carry in the first place. I don't know who needed to hear that, but that weight that is looming over you is not yours to carry in the first place. Alexa, play Bag Lady by Erykah Badu. Hello. If you have not listened to that song, something is telling me that somebody needs to go right now, pause this episode, pull up Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you listen to music, and listen to Bag Lady. Because you gonna miss your bus. Cause you got too much stuff. Like, Erica was before her time, and that is why her music is timeless. Because a lot of us, millennials specifically, are walking around with the weight of the world on our shoulders. And some of that baggage, you just picked up at baggage claim and didn't have your tag on it. The first Fendi fact talked about nature, not nurture, but nature being things that you inherit genetically, right? But for those that identify as a melanated millennial, you see what I did there? We inherit more than just our basic DNA makeup of hair color, eye color, etc. Unfortunately, it has been scientifically proven. You know what else? Those of us with a hue of brown to our skin inherit trauma. And that brings me to the second Fendi fact of the day. And it's a mental health article that's titled Trauma Passed Down PTSD in the Black Community. While studies show that trauma can be generationally inherited and even impact your DNA makeup, researchers at Penn State College of Medicine indicate that because multiple generations were impacted by the American slave trade, PTSD in the Black community could be a true problem with potentially compounding and worsening DNA changes. And this research doesn't even factor in the trauma associated with decades of racial injustices Black Americans have experienced post slavery, including Jim Crow segregation, as well as current challenges such as police brutality. So let's think about that. If we inherit trauma from birth as Black and brown people, i.e., nature, right? And then we are constantly reminded of that trauma in our environment, i.e., nurture. Are we really surprised that most of us, when we sit down and think about it, were raised out of survival and not out of love? Even down to the probably the biggest parenting debate of beating our children. Regardless of how you were hit, regardless of how soft you were hit as a child, whether it was just with a hand or it was just a pluck or a pop or a pinch, or for some it was with the belt, for some it's with whatever your parental figure could find quick enough to bop you with. The act of inflicting physical pain on someone that you deem less superior to you, i.e., in this case, a child, simply for not obeying your commands? Where'd that come from, y'all? Where does that sound like it came from, y'all? But that's a conversation for another day. But sit with that for a second. That is how deeply rooted trauma is into our DNA as Black people, to the point that we have people arguing that yes, beating your children works. And I am not sitting up here holier than thou. Have I popped my child? Absolutely. But the more I become conscious and the more I become awake to what really is my weight to carry, I can't deny the facts. The facts are the facts. The fact that so many of us feel comfortable inflicting pain on children because they aren't listening, but don't take the time to realize that that was done to our ancestors so long ago. And it was so traumatic to the point that here we are 400 years later arguing that it's right. Our ancestors would be ashamed. They would be embarrassed that people is on Twitter saying these children need to get beat. But like I said, that's a conversation for another day. I want to have a real transparent mom moment with y'all real quick, because all of these thoughts and realizations have been really doing a number on me lately, especially because our son has fully embarked on what is known as quote unquote the terrible threes. And to be clear, the terrible twos, the quote unquote terrible threes, I am now realizing why I can see why they're called that, because it's a developmental leap. Malik and I talk about it all the time. When we went camping with our son for his birthday, I have a vlog on my channel if you want to watch it. We had a great time. But that day, we woke up in that beautiful tree house cabin in the woods on this lake property. Something switched. He was different. He woke up on bullshit that day, y'all. And let me tell you, the threes have been feeling like he been on bullshit ever since. And I get why people call him terrible, because it's just a sea of never ending no's and I don't want to's and why and what that mean is the questions just never stop. The rebuttal never stops. But I realize it's not that your child is behaving bad. Your child has now hit a developmental leap where they need answers, they need understanding. And as the parent, it is our job to provide that. Especially when you have people like us that homeschool our kid. So he has only ever gotten his knowledge and information from those people around him. So of course he's going to ask 500 gazillion questions a day, because any other time he has had to been curious about something, mommy and daddy told him what it is. So now it's, mommy, what that mean? And what that mean? Like, he will literally keep asking you that until you break it down to a level that he can understand. And sometimes you just not in the mood to be having a debate with a 3-year-old about why vegetables are good for their body. But why? Because they give you nutrients. But why? Some days you get down to the last why and you don't have no more answers, but they still got a million more questions. And that brings me back to my complaint of the week. I realized I wasn't giving him the grace that he deserved as he goes through these developmental changes, because I quite literally, I can't even say it in my British accent, I need to be serious. I literally didn't know how. I didn't know how to give him grace. Hell, I still don't know how. I am trying. But it boils down to the fact that I don't know how, because no one had the time or patience to show me grace as a child. And for a lot of us, that's the case. Like, for a lot of us, our parents didn't have time to answer the 500 gazillion million questions, because 9 times out of 10, they were at work and you were at school, or you were at before school care or after school care, or you was at grandma's house or auntie house or your cousin's house, or you were just bouncing all over the place. So those 500 questions got asked to maybe 50 different people throughout the day. And because of the fact that me personally, I didn't know how to show him grace, because I don't know what that looks or feels like, what did I find myself doing? I found myself activating my trauma responses that are embedded so deep into my being. I caught myself saying things like, "You want me to give you something to cry for?" Or lashing out on him for his lack of listening, when in reality, my lack of patience and my lack of grace was the real problem. And I'm being so vulnerable with you guys right now, because I know I'm not the only millennial mom out there that is struggling with this inner fight. This fight of wanting our child or our children to be tough and self sufficient, like how our parents raised us to be, but also allowing them to be the soft and gentle kids that we never got a chance to be. If you're a part of the tribe and you don't have any children yet, but you know that you want some in the future, what I want you to take away from this episode is that motherhood or parenthood, because I feel like we got some guys in the tribe, they just be real quiet. So I'm gonna just say parenthood in its simplest form is nothing more than a mirror. It is a mirror into your childhood. So all of that childhood trauma that you have swept under the rug or ignored or even suppressed, do yourself a favor and start unpacking it in therapy before you're forced to do it on the job. Learning on the job is never easy or fun, and most of the times we find ourselves wishing that we were better trained. How many of you can relate to starting a job? You got trained maybe one shift, and then next shift they just expected you to know what you was doing. And all you be doing in the break room is like, yo, like, nobody taught me how to do that. Nobody trained me how to do that. Learning on the job ain't fun. And as somebody in real time that is learning how to be, quote unquote, a gentle parent while not knowing what it feels or looks like to have gentle parents, let me tell y'all, it is the biggest challenge I have ever experienced in my life. So if you don't have children yet, but you know you want some, I'm telling you right now, start doing the work now. Because that trauma, it is literally going to creep up on you when you least expect it. And you are going to find yourself standing in the shoes that your parents once stood in. And you're going to be like, damn, I said this would never be me. And look at me, yelling, screaming, hitting. How do I stop this cycle? You stop the cycle by going to therapy and unpacking it. Because if you don't even know what those triggers and those traumas are, you ain't going to know when they're going to sneak up on you. You're not going to know how to be prepared. And that's what therapy does. It gives you the tools to be prepared. It helps you differentiate between that nature and that nurture, between what you inherited and what was instilled in you. And it's in all of our nature to be nurturers. And the sooner we realize that, the better off our children, aka the future, will be. I know I said a lot this week, y'all. My tea is cold as ice, but we are finally at our familiar place, our word of the week. This week's word is scrutinized, because it's important to take a long, hard look at where we come from in order to understand where we're going. Those things that you experienced, that you promised yourself you wouldn't put your children through, go back and scrutinize why you won't do it. Why you won't put your children through what you went through, no matter how big or how small. And that doesn't mean that you go back and you villainize your parental figures. You just have to give them grace and understand that they did the best that they could. But now you know better, because you know what that will result in, because you are the result of that. So now that you know better, you have to do better. You have to have those hard conversations with those parental figures about things from the past so that you can make sure that history doesn't repeat itself. They're either going to hear you out and help you heal and them heal and move forward to a better tomorrow, or they won't. And if that's the case, I just want y'all to remember, some people weren't put here to evolve. That's not their mission in this life. They were put here to show you what it looks like if you don't. Cue outro.
And on that note, if you made it this far, thank you for kicking it with me and chopping it up with me. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. The love and the support, it never goes unnoticed or unappreciated. And if you want to join the conversation in real time, make sure that you're following me across all social media platforms at Tyanne Watson. But more specifically, make sure you're following me on Instagram at Tyanne.Watson, because that's where I'll post all of the polls, all of the questions, and conversation starters. That's also where you guys can expect to see sneak peeks and previews into the episodes to come. We on a new season and we on a new level. This gonna be one hell of a ride. I hope y'all are ready. Until then, I'll see you, same time, same place next week for another Melanated Monday. And remember, the goal is to be good and do good. Until next time, peace, y'all.